I adore being able to reuse things in the garden, to find things that I can upcycle, save money on, and just reuse in the garden. So I'm going to show you some of the things that I have upcycled in my garden, things that I use to plant, to store, to just do all kinds of things. So first I want to show you guys my garden beds. Most of my garden beds, I think I have 3 that I purchased, and the rest of them are made from recycled wood that I found, wood that I had lying around the house. So that's one thing I upcycle. And then here's my favorite piece of my garden. It's my tire. My husband bought me an old tire home, and I spray painted it, and I use it to plant mainly flowers. I don't typically plant food in this tire, but I'll put flowers in it. And I have another tire that I found, and I hopped out of my truck and threw it on the back of the truck. My daughter was embarrassed, but it's okay. And I'm going to paint that as well, and I'm going to figure out what to plant in it. Okay, I have my wheelbarrow. This is an old rusty wheelbarrow. I drilled holes, I drilled a couple of holes in the bottom of it. It was already rusting at the bottom a little bit, so it already had the drain holes from the rust. Last season I planted sweet alyssum and super petunias in here, and they did so amazing. Okay, what else? You see more upcycled garden beds. Let's go over here. More upcycled garden beds. Okay, last year I planted potatoes in these cardboard boxes. I'm leaving them here so that they can break down, and then once they break down, I can reuse all of that soil along with the broken down boxes for something else. You see the branches that fell off the tree? Instead of throwing them away, I just stuck them in the ground, and my peas are crawling up the branches. And once that's done, I'll just bury these in one of my garden beds so that they can break down further and add more nutrition to the soil. I upcycle cardboard boxes. Either I'm going to use the cardboard boxes in the garden beds, I'm going to shred them up or tear them apart, put them in my compost bin, or I'm going to plant in them. So that's another way I upcycle in my garden. See what else I got. Okay, we have more upcycled wood, and I use these to hold garden pots. I just sit them on cinder blocks. I find these cinder blocks. Sometimes I have to buy them, but a lot of times I'll find them, and then I'll use them in my garden. So we have the cinder blocks and the more wood. You see more cinder blocks that I'm using as a weight to keep my greenhouse from blowing away. I have those cinder blocks and those blocks. And my garden bed is falling apart. I'm going to have to see if I can repair that. I have here an old bin. This one is starting to fall apart, but that's okay. I can probably get another season or 2 out of it. And in here I have arugula, spinach, and I just dropped some more cherry bell radishes. And I keep the paper here so that I can remember what I planted. I'm not real good at labeling things, so there's that. Here's another recycled storage bin. I'm going to put some potatoes in here. Okay, and then I have more of the wood with the cinder blocks that I use as stands for my buckets. I have some more over here. See that? And I also reuse, at least once I will reuse my water jugs, my gallon water jugs. I think I sold either lavender or black-eyed Susans in here a while ago. I don't know if you can see them, but you can see that greenery in there. I don't know if it's the lavender or the black-eyed Susans, but time will tell. And you see more of the water jugs here that I'm going to use for something. Okay, if you guys look here, you see where I put shredded paper. I don't throw my junk mail away unless it's like the colored type of junk mail, but I'll shred it. I'll pull that plastic off the envelope and I'll shred the paper, and I use it in my garden. You guys, it breaks down so nice, and the earthworms love this stuff. So I use shredded paper, and you can also see where I use fallen branches off the trees, and I just throw them in the garden bed, and also the cardboard, I just throw it in the garden bed. And what I'll do with this is cover it with either, well, probably a mix of soil and compost, and then it'll break down, and it'll also help hold moisture in the beds over the summer. Okay, and over here I have this little walking path. These bricks or pathways were given to me by someone I know, as were these that I use to border my garden. You guys see where I planted a rose bush in this cardboard box. You see more of the bricks. I have this pallet that I found on the side of the road, and yes, I hopped out of my vehicle and tossed it up on the truck, and it was heavier than I thought, but I got it up there, and now I use it sometimes to just store things, to start plants, and eventually I want to paint it, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. Okay, you see this old cooler. This year I think I'm going to put my orange hat, well, there's the cat, put my orange hat tomatoes in here this year. They're really small, they're like really compact, and I'm going to put either 2 or 3 in here. I think I might do 2. Last year I did basil. The basil did really well in here. So what else do I have? I have another old wheelbarrow, and I use this wheelbarrow to mix my soil. And sometimes a lot of times I just throw old pots in there until I can figure out what to do with it. There we have more bricks that were given to me, and I have not had a chance to put them out. Hopefully I'll get to put them all in place this weekend, figure out where I'm going to put them, and put them in place this weekend. You guys know food scraps don't go to waste because we have our compost. We upcycle food scraps and turn it into compost. I upcycle takeout containers, grocery store containers, strawberry containers, just any kind of a container that we have. We can't forget about the rainwater. I capture rainwater and I use it on my plants whenever I have an opportunity. This is my first water source before I turn on my hydrant. So I have more fallen branches that I have collected that I will layer into one of my garden beds, or just throw them up against the fence and cover them with soil and allow them to break down over time. I know it's going to take time, but I'm patient. I'm in no rush because I know gardening is just ever evolving and we're always gardening, so I don't mind waiting on things to break down. And last but not least, my leaves. You guys know I have tons of leaves in the yard, and as unsightly as they may be, they make great mulch. They turn into rich soil, and they do so much for plants. So I don't throw my leaves away. I rake them and I place them against the fence, and I just allow them to break down. And over a couple of years, you have more soil than you need. That's one of the reasons I don't have to buy any soil this year. Now I do have to buy, what do you call that stuff? Wood chips. But I don't have to buy any soil this year because I have more than enough. I reuse all of my soil. I never throw it away unless there is an issue with an infestation or a disease. And you can see here where I allowed leaves to break down against this back fence, and I also put like sticks in here, and if you look under there, it's so much richness, and I can actually use this stuff in my garden this season. I thank you guys for joining me. If you have not already, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. And I will see you next time. Peace.